Hello and welcome to Town Meeting Television and another in our live candidate forums for Town Meeting 2020. I'm Matt Kelly. On tonight's show, we have school board candidates for Winooski School Board. And joining us this evening is incumbent Tori Cleiland. She is unopposed in her re-election bid. Unfortunately, Michael Decarreau could not join us this evening due to illness. We wish him well. Thank you, Tori. It's a pleasure having you at the debate table this evening.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. A reminder, this is a live call-in show, so if you do have a question about the Winooski School District, you're welcome to dial on in and ask Tori directly. The number is 862-3966. Tori, I want to ask you, you're running unopposed. What drives you to serve?
I believe that the foundation of our democracy is education.
Nice.
That if we are educating our children well to be good thinkers, to be good social thinkers, and to be healthy and well, both cognitively, physically, and emotionally, then that's going to mirror our democracy. We will see that in our communities and in our national politics and all of it, right? So I feel like it's the root.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you want to have an opening statement about your candidacy and about your return to the school board?
I think I'm running again because I feel that there's still so much to be done in terms of being able to have a healthy system. Like one of the questions you asked was like, what are some of the top 3 issues? And for me, it's about a healthy organization, and it needs to be healthy for the children, for the teens, for the faculty, for the families, for our community members. It is a hub, and
right.
If we can make sure that people are cared for in terms of meeting everyone how they're coming in and where they're coming in, so that everyone can be seen and heard and met so that they can grow in their own development. I feel like schools are there to sort of support and facilitate human development. But we have to be able to have the support systems necessary to meet everyone with it, because we all start at different places based on our family systems, based on the stories and the hard cards we've been handed. So we're all kind of coming in at a different, based on our ability, based on our, our physical. There's just so many different elements. We're all unique, but we all need to be seen and heard and cared for through that developmental process.
A reminder, this is a live call-in show, and you're welcome to dial in if you have a question for Tori. That number to dial in is 862-3966. And a reminder that Michael Decarreau was unavailable for this evening's broadcast, so he is unfortunately not able to join us here this evening as we enjoy Tori Cleiland and her unchallenged bid to return to the Winooski School Board. And again, we thank you for your service, and I actually do mean that because my mother served on the Burlington School Board. So I know about that commitment, like you talked about, that need for service. I think that inspired my commitment to service as well, which could always be strengthened. But the long hours well,
democracy requires our participation. Democracy is for all people and for voices, and you have to kind of show up to it. It doesn't just happen on its own, or it can in a vacuum. But if we all kind of engage and try to add some value, that makes us all better.
And so I think that really kind of brings us back to one of the questions here about involving non-citizens in the role of voting within our community, and how you think that really impacts the school kids in our community as well.
Well, currently, I'm as a liaison on the City Charter Commission to look at this issue, to bring it forth to the voters in November. And one thing that we're doing, which all the committee members agree to, is using inclusive language. So we're calling it all residents. And that way we're kind of being clear that all residents pay taxes. So if you've come in through the immigration system, you have green cards and visas, and you're still not a citizen of the United States, you're still paying taxes, and you are a resident of Winooski. So right now the committee we're focused on education, and we're looking at all the different elements of it. There's been some history in the American Revolution where immigrants were allowed to vote up until the 1920s. And now there are pockets of cities, certainly San Francisco, some big cities, and then Montpelier, who are also looking at how can we be more inclusive in a local municipal elections.
I've got to figure that this trickles down into the schools from the children of new Americans, let's say, or even just to encourage civic participation in general in what might be an apathetic population, let's say.
Well, I think that to be you use your voice when your voice is being asked for, and it strengthens your voice. You know, so if you're putting your kids in our schools and you're paying taxes and in the city, is it relevant to allow all residents to vote because they are paying for that? So what's happening in that commission is to be able to bring information to the voters so that they can be informed voters come November.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
great. So obviously you're on the school board, and the fiscal 21 budget is up for passing or not passing.
Yes.
What are your thoughts and how you tried to contain costs to present a budget that you hope will meet the
pass? It was a
voters'?
very thoughtful process. It was a very transparent process. We also just passed a capital project bond vote, and that passed in May. And the one thing that when we put forth a capital bond vote, it was a very transparent, also engaging process where it started in October 2018, and we took the year. We had a multi-stakeholder capital project committee that did a lot of the research. It had multi-stakeholders involved, so citizens, parents, administration, school people, city people, and they also did tours of the school. We did breakfasts and dinners to just get the information out there. And one thing that I also am running for in connection with this is engaging community in the conversation is not easy, no matter how much we put out there. So one place is Front Porch Forum. I think that all Vermonters are pretty used to be able to hear. And I've been reading on the Front Porch Forum that the vote felt, for some people, a few people felt sneaky and that they weren't involved. Well, when you do bond votes in May, it can feel that way, right? It doesn't mean that they don't feel that way. But this was a really transparent process that really tried to get people in. And what I felt good about in terms of voting to move that vote, to move that bond forward to a vote, was the citizens get to decide. We need to make sure we're doing our work, engaging people in the conversation for those who can be engaged in it and ready to think about that. But the ultimate thing is passing it to the voters. In a democracy, you get to decide, does this work for you? And so it did win. And this year's FY21 budget has the first installment of that bond in that budget. So we did have to make some cuts to keep the tax increase at a level that felt like made sense for our community.
Okay, great.
Also, Winooski, we in the last year have passed 2 other big bonds, which was Main Street Revitalization and the City Pool for kids. This, probably over half of the bond budget for the school is necessary repairs. And the other piece is trying.
That's deferred maintenance.
It is deferred maintenance, right?
Just,
so it's an old school, and Vermont, all over Vermont's
all
having
over.
this. And I think that, you know, one of the questions too was about educational funding.
Yeah,
and
beyond the property tax.
right. I mean, we do need to solve this.
Right.
Especially if in our state we have 60% of our well-educated, smart kids moving out of Vermont.
But and
That
so
becomes a state issue, right?
and-
So where are the jobs?
Well, so in a
where that we're
sense,
prepared.
we talked a little bit before going on air here about 21st century
Yes.
education, and you know, South Burlington is looking at a $209 million bond issue for a new school. Burlington just passed
one, yeah, a
$100
year
million
ago.
or something for a new school. Are we chasing good money after old ideas? I mean, what's the
Right.
21st century technology, and how is this budget sort of addressing it and preparing us to think out of this hub and spoke model that is, in a sense, a 17th century teaching paradigm?
Right, having to go to that school and be there from 8 to 3.
To 3, that's going to just continually have deferred maintenance, even when it's going to be a new building. it's just going to continue to have maintenance that budgets are going to potentially outstrip.
Well, the good news is we've thought about deferred maintenance, and we're including that in the budget, right? So that, so it doesn't happen again, right? That we stay on top of it, and one that it's also is ready to be sustainable, you know, in terms of energy usage and all of that. The other piece that went into this whole plan for the budget is thinking about 21st century learning, which is really, we've moved now into the conceptual age. We're no longer in the information age. We can grab, my phone's down there, I can look up anything you're going to ask me about facts. But the conceptual age is about what are you going to do and create based on the information now we have in our hands.
Right, and as you were saying earlier,
it's about projects. It's about getting out there and doing something for the community and making the world a better place.
Right, and it's interesting because you're saying you don't need memorization anymore because you've got this tool now. And as an example, a friend of mine in Madison, Wisconsin, his 15-year-old son designed a walking tour app for his community using that new technology, and that's a perfect
So this
example
building that is designed, and you can go on the website and you can look at how it's designed, is designed in pods and collaboration for this conceptual age learning. It was thought about, we looked at engagement, and it looked at innovation, and it looked at wellness. And how does it, because buildings, when you walk into places, you feel a certain way.
Well, if you're spending that amount of time there, certainly.
Yeah, so that it can also be a hub for the community for other things also. So it can be multi-purpose.
Right. There's no reason it should shut down at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. And you're speaking to a partnership we had, a grant that we had with Nellie Mae Foundation with Burlington, 6 to 7 years ago, which is moving towards personalization, flexible pathways, not always having to be in the building, and for kids to be able to get mentors out in the community, to learn and to grow and to create and to do together with your community. Sometimes, hopefully looking at what does our community need? What are students' passions? How do we bring those together and use it as we're resources for each other. It doesn't have to be isolated within that building, but letting community in and out in a way that we're all working together.
As a dialogue.
As a dialogue.
Yeah.
And there have been some great successes on that. The city created an equity forum to start talking about our very diverse, amazing population, right? We are complex, we are awesome, we are a lot. And the students were there, and there's a community and cultures course in Winooski where they look at Winooski and they're like, okay, what do I want to know? What do I want to, and they gave us a presentation about our history, about how, we started as, we started as colonizers, some of us, right? And then we, exactly. And how it grew over time, how decisions were made in terms of where housing are. Like they looked into the decision making.
Oh, that's exciting.
It was super exciting. And so that they're a part of the dialogue. We have a student on the All Residents Voting Commission, the Charter Commission, looking at changing our charter for that. So there is a lot of collaborative work going on between city and school. It's a good relationship.
We like to see that.
Yeah.
We only have a few minutes left, so how about just a wrap-up statement about your candidacy and what you're passionate about working forward in your next 2 years on the board?
One thing I'm really passionate about, this summer I built a new brick walkway in front of my house. And it was I'm a single mom owner, homeowner. It's
a big undertaking.
It was a huge undertaking. But what I loved about it was it's on the way to the park, and I got to I got so much good advice. I got to have kids jump on top of it to make sure it was still strong. And that interaction with community and neighbors is really amazing. I feel supported on my street, knowing that we're all there for each other, and it's a phone call away if I need that. And I want everyone to feel that way in Winooski, because there's so many good people there, and we have a lot of good work. And we have a lot of complicated issues, financial issues to solve. How do we make sure it's still affordable?
Right.
Affordable living is hard in Vermont, but how do we make that accessible for all people, and yet still do the things we need to make us proud and strong and moving forward in the 21st century and just getting stronger. It's a delicate balancing act, and there's not a simple answer for it. But if we all have good conversations together and know we want people to be well, we want people to be safe, we want people to live affordable lives, you know, and have good jobs, then I think we can work it all out.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Tori Cleiland, thank you so much for your service to your community and your dedication to the prosperity of us all. And thank you for joining us here this evening.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
On behalf of all of us here at Town Meeting Television, we thank you for watching, and a reminder that early voting is already beginning here in the state of Vermont. You can contact your local town clerk and request a ballot. Just a reminder to complete the ballot once it arrives in your mail and to return it by mail. And then join us for complete town meeting coverage beginning at 7 p.m. right here on Town Meeting Television. And for all of us at CCTV, I'm Matt Kelly. We thank you for watching.